Bio-Luminescence.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-6819. Object Class, Keter, Uncontained. Special Containment Procedures. Research into the causes and effects of SCP-6819 and possible preventative measures are ongoing. Currently, Foundation Protocol discourages travel from the hours of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. unless absolutely necessary, in which case a party of 4 or more is strongly encouraged. If an SCP-6819 event is triggered, the driver should maintain a fast but safe speed and not attempt a U-turn or to otherwise change direction. After the building is sighted, confirming presence in SCP-6819-1, drivers should switch lanes or otherwise maneuver around any obstructions in the road. In the event of humanoid presence in the road, personnel are authorized to accelerate to a ramming speed.
I was thinking
Under absolutely no circumstances are personnel to ever stop, exit the vehicle, or approach the building. Description: SCP-6819 is a phenomenon occurring on highways in the United States numbered highway system in the contiguous United States. SCP-6819 involves the sudden translocation of a vehicle driving on a U.S. highway to SCP-6819-1, an extradimensional region of unclear bounds, and its subsequent return. SCP-6819-1 resembles a U.S. highway with all identifying signage removed and no natural illumination. The surrounding area is difficult to see and variable, but the area to the right will always be a gently sloping rocky hill. At the top of the hill, an unclear distance away, a large building is present. The exact physical characteristics of this building change, but all subjects report it as imposing or intimidating, with high walls illuminated by floodlights. Descriptions range from a prison to a castle to a military base and similar facilities. The requirements for triggering SCP-6819 are unclear, but a few prerequisites have been ascertained. The driver of the vehicle must be currently or formerly employed by the Foundation. The vehicle must be moving independently, not towed or transported on a truck bed. The time must be between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. local time zone. The moon must be in a waning period. There must be no more than 3 passengers inside the vehicle, including the driver. SCP-6819-1 always contains an event forcing or incentivizing the driver to slow down or stop and exit the vehicle. The specifics of the event are never consistent. Instance 56. Circumstances: 2009 Chevrolet Tahoe. Foundation issue. Driver was Agent Mila Barrow. No passengers. US 46 in Missouri. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 12:17 a.m. local time. Agent Barrow reports she noticed the sudden absence of other vehicles, but did not consider it a point of concern and continued driving. A few minutes later, she realized her dashboard clock had stopped displaying and her phone was no longer in service, and grew concerned at the continued lack of human presence. At this point, the building, it must have been miles away on that hill, I could barely make it out through the tree line, became visible. Agent Barrow continued driving, but prepared her service weapon. I'm not sure why. I was locked in a car with bulletproof windows and there wasn't anything overtly dangerous around. Several minutes later, the right lane was obstructed by the corpse of a large elk or moose, being feasted upon by a significantly larger animal, possibly a bear. The bear's fur was extremely dark, to the point of absorbing light around it, and had morphological alterations. Its arms were distinctly thin and long compared to the rest of it, like human arms. The prey was still alive despite the surrounding asphalt being coated with its blood, and continued to thrash and emit guttural screams as Barrow changed lanes and accelerated past it. In her rearview mirror, she reported the predator sitting on its hind legs and staring at her vehicle with glassy white eyes. Barrows exited back into local reality at 12:38 a.m. and immediately reported the incident. Instance 165. Circumstances: 2004 Toyota Sienna. Driver was Dr. Adam Makowitz, with his wife Dana Makowitz in the passenger seat, US 82 in New Mexico. Observations. SCP-6819 triggered at 11:34 p.m. local time. Dr. Makowitz immediately registered the sudden change in surrounding landscape despite the darkness and attempted to check their location on his phone GPS, which did not work. The building became visible at the top of the rocky hill. It reminded me of Site 16 a little bit. These huge concrete walls built into the cliffside, and the big spotlights along the walls. Not wanting to wake his wife, Makowitz continued driving for several minutes. The building stayed at a static position. With the angle and my speed, I should have been getting closer, but it wasn't, like it was moving parallel, though obviously it wasn't, with its spotlights panning over the hillside. Makowitz suddenly became aware of a movement to the left of the vehicle. Per testimony, it was a dark blot out in the desert, angled in such a way that I could see it for several seconds as we sped by. From everything around it, it was obviously a three-dimensional object, but since it reflected no light, you couldn't really tell. A couple miles later, I saw it again, but it was further out, so I could see it longer. It was moving at a constant speed, not the intermittent gait of something on legs, but the smooth pace of a wheeled object. It was moving parallel to the interstate at a much lower speed, and we shot by pretty quickly. I thought I was hallucinating. Makowitz then reports that the object reappeared ahead of them, moving perpendicular to the interstate. It crossed into their path, and Makowitz rapidly braked to avoid colliding with it, waking his wife. The object was no longer present, and his wife suggested she drive. I was tired and a little terrified, but something in me was screaming not to get out of the fucking car. They continued, and the building disappeared from view at 12:09 a.m. local time, signaling their exit from SCP-6819-1. Instance 306. Circumstances. 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Driver was Site Director Paul Legoux. No passengers. US 120 in Pennsylvania. Observations. SCP-6819 triggered at 2:03 a.m. local time. Director Legoux immediately noticed the sudden disappearance of other vehicle lights. It was a pretty empty road, but I could still see taillights of people way ahead of me, and the headlights of oncoming traffic. One by one, they just winked out, like candles getting snuffed out, and attempted to call a colleague on his phone, but could not get signal. Legoux was suddenly temporarily blinded by a bright light. A spotlight followed his vehicle for a few seconds before drifting away. Legoux regained control of the vehicle and looked up at the building on his right. Between the barbed wire, the guard towers, and the spotlights, it looked like a fortress. Believing he had taken the wrong exit, he made a U-turn and began accelerating in the opposite direction until the building disappeared from sight. After only 2 to 3 minutes, the building appeared again ahead of Legoux, once again on his right. However, the taillights of other vehicles were visible ahead of him, as well as the honking of horns. He registered the lights were not moving. The cars were all stopped in the right lane, causing him to switch lanes to drive past them. As he drove past, he slowed to take a note of the traffic jam. All the cars were jet black and looked brand new. All of them had their hazards on, and were honking at each other. I was wondering why the hell none of them just switched to the other lane until I drove past. All of them were empty. Must have been 30 or 40 cars, backed up and honking at each other with their windows down, and not a single person inside any of them.
That's weird that the cars are honking.
Legoux accelerated to 130 miles per hour and exited SCP-6819-1 at 2:25 a.m. local time. Instance 398. Circumstances: 1999 Honda CR-V. Driver was Agent Alice Sterling. Only passenger her pet golden retriever, US 95 in Nevada. Observations. SCP-6819 triggered at 1:15 a.m. local time. Agent Sterling does not immediately notice, but reports her dog immediately began to behave strangely and restlessly. The building does not become visible for several minutes, but
I was just thinking it's kind of weird that I've driven long distance in all these states. Like the last one was Pennsylvania when I was driving a tractor trailer, and I drove through Pennsylvania. But all the other ones I've driven, like through Nevada, New Mexico, I lived in Missouri for like 4 years. Uh, is that all these I've driven through for long distance, long period of time, and a lot of them by myself, or less than 3 people in the car, including myself.
But Agent Sterling notes she began to hear a soft but high-pitched buzzing. I figured that what was making Kane nervous. It sounded like a snake rattle almost. From outside the vehicle, her dog began to whine from the back seat. Sterling noticed a discoloration on the road ahead and slowed her vehicle down as she approached. She noted a number of black cars stopped in a row in the left lane, similar to instance 306.
Are they trying to get these people
However,
to stop
all
and
the
get
asphalt, guardrails, cars, and nearby rocks were coated in a greenish shifting substance. As Sterling shifted to the right lane and slowly drove by, she was able to inspect them closer. Cicadas. Hundreds and thousands of them at the very least. They were everywhere, buzzing and screaming and making the air shimmer. I don't think cicadas ever come out this far west. Not in these numbers. My car left a smashed trail of them and they didn't even seem to care. The brood of cicadas continued for almost a mile and a half, during which the building became visible, much closer than in previous instances. It seemed safe, strong. I didn't see any cicadas on those walls, despite the lights. She also noticed an unpaved road diverging from the highway that led up the hill to the building, and moved to take it. At this point, her dog began to loudly and insistently bark, and she missed her turn. Sterling continued and exited SCP-6819-1 at 1:38 a.m. local time. Instance 434. Circumstances: 2017 Ford F-150. Driver was researcher Samuel Seabar. No passengers, but Seabar was transporting a whole hog in the bed of the truck. US 123 in Kentucky. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 12:56 a.m. Seabar immediately noticed and unsuccessfully attempted to establish a radio connection with command, then rapidly accelerated in an attempt to exit SCP-6819 as fast as possible. I figured that since turning around doesn't work, the fastest way out is directly through. The building became visible within 1 to 2 minutes due to the speed Seabar was traveling at. Uncharacteristically, its spotlights were all fixed on a singular point down the road. Instead of wandering across the area as usual, as Seabar approached the point, he noticed an obstruction in the road and was forced to slow down. The twisted, flaming wreckage of a black SUV was strewn across the road. It was gruesome. I think it had crashed into the guardrail, but the car was totaled. They'd been thrown through the windshield. Jesus fucking Christ. Illuminated by the spotlights, a number of small fires were present throughout the crash scene, as well as a number of partially burned bodies lying face down on the ground. Seabar took the truck partially off-road to avoid the crash. One bloodied figure was lying several dozen meters away from the spotlights and wreckage, at the end of a long trail of blood and viscera. As Seabar returned to the road, he did not register this figure's presence in the darkness and crushed them under the wheels of the truck. The sudden jolt panicked Seabar. I thought someone had jumped on the fucking truck. I thought I was gonna die. And he accelerated to 110 miles per hour until he exited SCP-6819-1 at 1:09 a.m. local time. After establishing a radio connection and reporting the incident to command, Seabar stopped at a gas station and noticed the raw hog in the bed of the truck now had large chunks torn out of its flesh. Interview.
I wonder why was that?
Interviewer, Dr. Seth Sainer. Subject, Agent Barry Novak. Playing log, now.
Hey Barry, sorry about the wait. It's fine. Not exactly a lot going on here. Just for the record, can you recount what happened one more time? Again. You don't have to go into too much detail. We just want it on tape. Alright.
Oh, fuck.
I was driving down 160 near Cortez. It was like 2 in the morning. There were some other cars around, but it was mostly dead. When did you notice something had changed? I have a little compass on my dash. It started freaking out. Then I noticed just, I couldn't see anything. It's a dark highway, but there weren't any taillights, headlights. I couldn't even see the moon. Utter pitch blackness beyond my high beams. And that wasn't even... I'm not afraid of the dark. Never said you were. I was. As a kid. I always slept with a nightlight in the corner of my room.
Terrified of the dark.
Made me feel safe.
Now
Anyway,
I live in it. It's molded
that's when I
by
saw the
it.
building. Can you describe it to me? It was perched on the cliffside. It was... imposing. These huge flying concrete walls and the big guard towers. It was bright, too. The only source of light in the area were those huge spotlights and floodlights.
You kept driving,
You
yeah.
kept driving. Sure. At this point, I knew where I was and what to do, so I continued driving. Okay. The spotlights followed me. Followed my car. I mean, do they always do that? It's not exactly common, but we've seen it happen. It scared me, so I sped up. I was waiting to see what was going to be in the road, in the dark. You saw figures. Yeah. Maybe 4 or 5 people. It's hard to remember. Standing in the middle of the road facing me. Could you describe them?
Not a ran ass.
They were white. Naked. Masks. Black masks covering their entire heads. They were holding things. Either guns or bats. It's hard to say.
Sound like they're planning to
Doing
fuck
anything?
you up.
Just standing there. As you know, the absence of living people in SCP-6819-1 is usually an important signifier. Are you sure they were people? They looked like people. I don't know if they were actually alive or actually human, but they looked it. What did you do? I wasn't prepared for a fight. It's a shitty little Prius. I can run someone over, but if I smashed in the window, I was done for. I saw the road. The road. The dirt path going off, up the hill, to the building. And you followed this path?
To the building. Is he the first one to go to the building?
Yeah. I figured it was a better option than playing chicken with some gunmen. Can you describe to me the uphill drive? The road was bumpy, but it was drivable. Switched into second gear and started going up. Then the headlights chopped through the bush. Then the spotlights fell on me. All of them shining down on the roof of the car, blinding me. You stopped the car. Yeah. Then they wandered off me, formed a line leading to one of the walls of the fortress, shining on a big door. What kind of door? It looked like the blast door, almost. The whole affair looked like, I don't know, a bunker. How did you feel? Weird. A blend of scared and safe.
I keep wondering, like, what the fuck is this thing? Like, what is this? They keep showing this, but they're just talking about a row in a building. Like, is this in the building? And this thing has like a lightsaber or something. A dark saber. Like, it's ready to just cut people up. Like, what is this? With abs and shit. Like, let me guess, this thing gonna come out the building or some shit.
Safe. The light was comforting, and the walls looked very safe. I started driving up to it, and you saw the door opening. Yeah.
Someone recorded on the damn
Just as the
VHS
door started
tape.
to open, everything went dark again. You passed out behind the wheel. The airbags were deployed when we found you in a ditch by the highway like this. They're probably gonna pull the plug sometime tomorrow.
Oh, why they didn't just kill him?
Your family will be taken care of. I'm sorry, Barry. It's not your fault. Should have plowed through those masked fucks. Killing people isn't a natural instinct. That's the thing, isn't it? You're driving through the dark. You see a bright light. You assume safety. A nightlight. Yeah. It shows you're not alone. Shining through the dark and calling you closer.
Like an anglerfish.
Like an anglerfish.
So they want you to come towards the light, and you do. It snaps your ass. Like, got him. They're gonna pull the plug. Says his. Oh, I guess he just died. Oh, there's no need to pull the plug then. Sheesh, that was a
I would like to give a special
dire ending there. I mean, it is a SCP, but oops, I just opened the wrong fucking thing. God damn it! I accidentally opened my video editor. Oh, it's fine. It's not. I don't think it's going. Well, I stopped the screen recording anyway, so it don't matter. Yeah, what was that thing? The thing they were showing. What is that? It's like they keep showing. Like I don't. Why's my room like that? Is this desk? It like look weird. Like I said, it look angled like that, but I'm looking at it, it looks straight. But everything looks angled on this camera. This house is like. No, it was like slanted. I had to lift it a little bit. So, but anyway, like, is this a building hunting people? It's like that movie House, where the house is like eating people. They made a few movies like that. It was a Japanese or Korean movie where it's like literally the objects in the house were eating people. There was another movie called I don't know if it was called House. It was like a bed would eat people. Like a I don't remember if it was a water bed where you slept in it. It basically would be like dissolve you in it or whatever. And then it start people stop sleeping in it. Then it would like shoot out its sheets like tendrils and pull you into the bed and then hold you there and slowly dissolve you in it. It was like it was but like I'm curious. I want to know what the fuck that creature had to do with this because they kept showing that. Like, what is that? Is that in the building? Then he talked about this thing because you're in a different, I guess, universe somewhere. You're in some pocket dimension or something where everything is just black. You can't see anything except your headlights are shining out, but it's just pitch darkness until you come up. Well, I guess you can see the road, but you can't see anything on the side of the road until you see obstructions in the road, like some weird type of bear creature that's eating an elk. Then you see cars parked on the side of the road, honking their horns, but no one's in the car. They all look, he said, black and new. I'm like, okay. And then the last guest, I saw 5 people in the road with black masks, white people. I don't know if they were white people or like white, like the complete absence of color, like the color white, not white people, like Caucasians, but white people, but like the color white with black masks. So it's just like I should have just ran the fuck off because he went towards the building and the light shined on. I guess like he said, you assume safety because of the light, but hey, well, I want to know his injuries because they said they're gonna pull the plug. Like, why was he that injured? Where it's like you're not gonna survive your wounds, and you're like maybe they can't stop the bleeding or something like that. But then they were right. He ended up dying, like right there in the interview. So the fuck happened? Like what happened? I might have to read up on that or something to see like what happened to him, what injury, because he was outside the car. he said the airbag had deployed, so he run into something. He was on the side of the road in the condition. He's in the condition that you are in now. I guess that's why they said don't get out that fucking car. But that was interesting. It's just like these SC people. They just keep you. They give you a little taste of it, and then that's enough. That's all we're gonna give you. And then you like, but what happened? You're like, nah, that's it. Gotta keep you one more. But anyway, close this. Can I? Hope you all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're here. Hit that bell. You know if I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.